Good morning from the beautiful Gold Coast. Bit overcast today, but nevertheless, a beautiful day anyway. Irrespectively, I'm breathing in the air. I'm alive to experience this beautiful day with everything that goes with it. So today I wanted to talk about getting work, getting a job, being employed. I know it sounds very basic and very fundamental for most people. Coming into a situation from never having a job, no resume, no work experiences, no references, no prior history, no people to rely on for things like recommendations, no skills, no degrees. Most people who start out with such an empty pass struggle to think that they have nothing to take to potential employers, or they would be attractive to employers for employment. I've never ever had a job in my life. The only job I had was care of the government, going to prison, and they were controlling that job description. Me being a prisoner and me working in prison environments such as being a sweeper in things called wings where they housed prisoners where you slept. Worked in bakeries in prison. Worked in kitchens in prison. The last job that I had in prison was I was the runner for the counsellor. I used to do his errands. So I went to a rehab, and after my last prison sentence, I actually went back to a rehab. I went from jail to a rehab, went back to court. Then I had to do another prison sentence for charges prior me going to the rehab. And then I got sentenced on those charges while I was at the rehab, and the judge sent me back to prison for those charges. So I get back out. I go back to the rehab. I complete that, and I finish at the rehab. Now it's time in the big wide world to get a job. So what do I do to get a job? Well, the first thing I do is not assume what potential employers are thinking, or not use excuses of my past life for the reasons not to make the effort to look for work. Because I learned in rehab we can get stuck in justifications or reasons not to attempt to do something that's essential, like getting a job. It's essential to work for my future. I didn't want to be an ex-heroin addict where, okay, I stopped using heroin, but I was just going to live on the dole all my life and not have any quality of life. If I was to want to change, which I did want to change, I was going to make sure that I was going to have quality of life for a good life. That was a part of my change. So back in the day, they used to deliver what we used to call local rags, and they were papers that used to be free, and people used to drop them off and put them in the letterbox, and at the back of these papers there would be classifieds, and people would put ads in these classifieds seeking people that wanted to work. So I would go through these classifieds, and I would ring people that wanted kitchen hands, cleaners, offsiders, people help people in cleaning building sites. Every single ad I would ring, and I would say I'm looking for work. They'd ask me what I'd done prior to that. I would say nothing. I'm just getting out of a rehab now. I've changed my life, and what I found in talking to people honestly about changing my life and turning my life around, people were, I found, more receptive to me the more honest I was to people, employers, the more receptive these people were to me. And I applied for jobs that way. I went into shops. I asked people in shops, could I stack shelves? If I seen a tradies car, I'd ask them, have they got any work? I'd talk to people that I knew. I'd make them aware that I was looking for work. I would be very proactive in every aspect to get a job, and the more action I put in, the more intent I put in to that process, the higher the chances were that I was going to get a job, and I did get a job. I eventually I got a job as a carpenter's offsider, and that lasted for a few weeks, maybe a month, and then that ceased, and he didn't pay me, and I kept going looking for work. Then I got a job as a kitchen hand, and that lasted for a few months, and then they put me off, and then I kept trying, kept asking people, kept looking in local rags, and I wouldn't stop. I was determined. I got odd jobs here and there as cleaners and picking up rubbish, and finally, I struck a job on the Gold Coast as a telemarketer, and that was the right job for me. But without the effort to look for a job, and without that determination and not making any excuses and being motivated, I wouldn't have landed a job. I would have come up with excuses why I couldn't get a job. It was my history. It was where I come from. No CV. No one's going to employ me. It's all crap. It's all in your head. That's if that's there. If you're looking for a job, um, and the more active I was on my front foot, the more potential that presented for me to find work. So if you're out there and you have come from struggle, or just if you're unemployed and you're finding it hard, and like you're putting in so many job resumes over the internet these days, and you're getting a lot of no's, and it's not happening for you. Or, as I said, if you come from more extreme positions, coming up to the starting line to get a job, and you haven't got anything behind you, and you're going to have doubt, and it's normal to have doubt. It's normal to feel unsure. It's normal not to know. It's normal to go into these areas of work and new environments, and have fear about it. It's very normal to have that. But there's one ingredient that will always shine through, and will always give you your job, and to get what you want, and that's the persistence, and being aware you're not sabotaging yourself by falling into, why me, poor me, I can't do this, this is all too hard, nobody's ever going to employ me, I've tried, it's not happening. Well, you got to keep going. And if one thing isn't working, try another thing. Diversify in your actions in looking for work. It's not always about the internet. You can go into factories. You can go into other establishments and ask for work. I did that with my son. I took him around, the business area of Currumbin, and I went into these businesses, and asked these owners in front of him, is there any work for him? He's seeking work, and he got a job. So but it didn't happen. It didn't happen straight away. We went to about 2 or 3 industrial areas on the Gold Coast before he struck one. But I taught him about the persistence in that. So you can get a job if you're aware that it's yourself that will stop you from getting the job. I'm not saying that it's easy, and you might be lucky. You might end up with something quick, but if it's taken longer than you expect, well, that's the process, and that process is okay. But just don't give up. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Keep approaching. And I know it's hard. It's not easy. But the more you approach, the more you look at the papers, and there's still papers out there. They're still classified. There's still businesses offering jobs in papers. There's businesses everywhere. You can walk in and ask for a job. You've got the internet. You've got friends. As I said, there's many ways to skin a cat. So remember that, and stay on the front foot, and have a great day. Take care.